We just got done talking about what a database is, what SQL is, what a relational database management system is. We're now going to create a database and create this table that you see here. So I need to go back to my instance and I need to SSH. So when we created our instances, we installed MySQL, but there's a few steps I need to take in order to access MySQL. So the first is we already installed MySQL. If you go to your checklist for starting your EC2, we installed MySQL back on this command. Okay, so HTTPD, that's Apache. We installed PHP. We installed MySQL Server, and then the connection between PHP and MySQL. But just because the MySQL is installed doesn't mean I can access it. I actually need to start it. So if I open up starting MySQL on Amazon EC2, we'll see that I need to start MySQL. And if I restart the server, I also need to start MySQL. So MySQL is a server in your EC2. Okay, so I have a MySQL server that's running on your EC2 instance. Every time I restart the server, it restarts its Apache, and I also need to restart my MySQL server. Okay, so if I go to my AWS console, okay, I need to SSH to my server. So I'll log into my terminal or to my console and then SSH to the terminal. So once I log in, okay, we're in Ohio. Make sure you're in the right region. So I'm in Ohio. Not sure if you used the console in a while, but you'll select EC2. You'll see how many running instances you have. So I'll select the 2830 running instance and then click on connect. Once I hit connect, I can copy this SSH command. I will CD into the directory where the key pair is. Okay, so once I CD into that directory, I'll CD where that key pair is. Once I'm in there, I'll do an ls. You should see that key pair, and then I can SSH. So I'll copy and paste that command. Once you see the EC2 logo, you know you're connected to your server. Okay, so I can do an ls or pwd. You'll see I'm on the server. I need to start MySQL server. So if I come back, I need to do a sudo service. Instead of HTTPD, which is Apache, I'm going to do MySQLD start. So I need to start the MySQL server. So once I do that, sudo service MySQLD start, you'll see it's setting up the database. So it's initializing. It's doing what it needs to do, and then you should get these two green OK messages. Once I start this MySQL server, I can connect to it. So if I do sudo MySQL, I'm going to okay, I misspelled MySQL. So once you do sudo MySQL, it's going to go into the MySQL command line. Okay, I'm in the MySQL shell. I can now type SQL commands. Okay, so remember, SQL is my language. It's a language to access this database. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create a database. But I may want to show the databases that are already created. So I can do show databases. Now, in a lot of the examples, so if I go back to W3 Schools, you'll see these keywords are uppercase. Okay, usually in SQL syntax, you'll see they're uppercase. So I can do show databases. Okay, so show is a keyword. Databases is actually also a keyword, so I can uppercase this as well. But you'll notice that's hard to type each time. So on a test, I may ask you, are MySQL keywords case sensitive? No, they're not. I can also do show databases, lowercase, and it also works. This command also works. But a lot of times, they recommend you uppercase so I can see, okay, this is a keyword, and these are the column attributes, which are not uppercase. This is a keyword. The table name is not a keyword. So keywords are not case sensitive. Attributes and table names are case sensitive. So you'll see in MySQL terminal, it doesn't color code it. So you can't see the keywords, so that's why I recommend to uppercase them. But when I do show database, you'll see the default databases. Now I could use the test database or the MySQL database. However, we'll create our own database for this course. So I could use the create command. I'm going to create a database, and we're going to call it CS2830. Now, usually in the MySQL command line, each command needs to end with a semicolon. Okay, so if I do without a semicolon, let's just say I do test2, you'll see it goes to the next line. And then until I add a semicolon, then it will run. Okay, if you have a database, if I do show databases that you don't want anymore, I can do drop database test2. Okay, make sure you add your semicolon, which shows that statement is finished. Okay, so we created a database. You'll see right now I'm typing SQL. So if I do show databases, this is a SQL command. So SQL is the syntax. I created a database using the create database command. And now every time I log in with MySQL, I need to do what's called use and then the database name. Okay, I actually need to select which database I want to use. So I want to use CS2830. Now I can show the tables for 2830, but you'll see that's nothing there. If I exit out, you don't have to do this, but I will. Log back in. I haven't selected one, so if I do a show tables, okay, no database was selected. Or if I try to select star from, well, we don't have a table, but let's say I just put table name. You'll see also no database was selected. So until I select the database, I cannot do any commands that alter that database, like the tables. So I need to use CS2830. Now I can show tables in the database. Right now we don't have any tables. So we're going to create a table. We're going to create the food stock table. So I'm going to create food stock. If I come back here, you can see food stock. And I have three attributes. And we're going to have four attributes, 4 rows. So I'm going to create food stock. Okay, so I'm going to create the table food stock, capital S on this one. And this is why semicolons are required, because sometimes you may want to write it on a new line. So I'm going to create table food stock. ID, which is the first attribute, is going to be an int. Name is a string. Now strings in MySQL are a little bit different. I don't just put string. I can either put text or I could do what's called a varchar. Varchar is basically a character array, and I can put the maximum size. So let's say name for the food is a character array with the max size of 50. And quantity is going to be an int. And cost is going to be a double or a float. Then I'll close the table creation statement and put a semicolon. Now there's some key differences between varchar and text. Varchar has a specified limits of 50 characters. If I only store 1 character, it's still going to take up 50 characters of space. Now why would I want to do that? Well, varchar has some advantages. One, I can compare. I can say select where name is unique, and I'll compare all the names because each name is 50 characters, so I can compare them easily. If one name has 1 character, the next one has 50 characters, it's really hard to compare those with MySQL. So if I have text, if I put text here, it's non-comparable. But there's no size limit, so I can put 1 character, it'll store 1 character. Or if I had text here and then I store 500 characters, it'll store 500 characters. So it's a dynamic size for the text. but I cannot compare the names. So if you need to compare the string, use varchar. If you don't need to compare the string, use text. So I'll create the table. If I don't have any syntax errors, you'll see it's okay. And now I can do a show tables, and I can see food stocks in my 2830 database. Okay, so I can start inserting data into this table now. So I do an insert into, this is the command. I'm going to insert into food stock, and now I'm going to insert these values. So if I specify 4 values in the correct order, I don't have to specify the attribute name. So I can just put bitterballin 12, 10, just like our Excel sheet here. ID's 1, then bitterballin, then 12, then 10. Okay, so here that is 1, bitterballin 12, 10. Do an insert. You'll see it's okay. But I have an issue here. Okay, let's say I also want to do another insert. Insert into food stock, values, 1, bitterballin, 12, and 10. It lets me do it. Okay, we didn't add any rules to this table. Okay, we don't have any rules to this table, so it allows me to do anything. So if I do a select star from food stock, here's what I have in my database. Okay, I have 2 bitterballins. Both ID was equal to 1. And both quantity and cost is equal to 12 and 10. We'll go back and fix this in a second. There's 2 ways to do a select. I can either do a select star, which selects all the attributes from food stock. I can also say, okay, select ID and name from food stock. So maybe I only want to select specific attributes. I can also do a select count star. So it's going to count all the rows from food stock. So you see I have 2 rows. These are different ways that I can do a select. So let's insert more data. If I do insert into food stock, which is the table name, values, let's say 2, puffer, 20, and 3. And then I'm going to do another one, insert into food stock, values, let's say 3, ribs, 1 and 1650. Last one, insert into food stock, values, 4, sushi, 2 and 20. And now I do a select star from food stock. Okay, we can see our data here. Okay, so besides this duplicate row, we can see that we inserted in. Now let's say I mess up. So let's say I do an insert into food stock with a lowercase s, values, 1, let's say bitterballin, 12 and 10. You'll see here the keywords are not case sensitive, but the table is case sensitive. So if I mess that S up, it's not going to let me insert into the table. Okay, now you'll see I'm doing this through the command line. Everything's nice. I can insert the data in. I can select. I can also delete. So let's say I do a delete from food stock. So I'm going to delete that duplicate. Where now we got to be careful here, because actually if I say where ID is equal to 1, it's going to delete both of them. So let's not do a delete yet. But you'll see I'm writing these commands. I can do it, but if I mess up, okay, I get these errors. The keywords aren't color coded. So the command line's nice, but 1, it's very powerful, so you got to be careful. If I do a delete, the data's gone. And 2, it's not very user friendly. Okay, I can use MySQL Workbench, which makes it a lot easier to write these commands. So I'm going to stop the video here. So continue to the next video, and we'll start using MySQL Workbench to connect to our EC2 instance and continue our SQL statements.